Let's do QB quick reads with our quarterback, Dan Orlovsky. It starts with Jalen Hurts this week against Tampa. What are you looking for?
Can he win? Because that's all Jalen Hurts does, right? Except against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He better be good on early downs because against the Bucs, Jalen Hurts is 1-4. A quarterback that all he does is win. He's QBR on third down is 31. This is a team that gets after him, and if they can't run the football on early downs and get Saquon established, this could be a big-time upset, even though Tampa Bay is absolutely depleted with injuries on their offensive side of the football. This defense has Jalen Hurts' number, and that's going to be the big challenge with all their pressures. Daniel Jones, this is a heavyweight fight game for me. Daniel Jones and his kind of rebuild against the Rams defense. The one thing that he is doing differently is playing well under pressure. They have to feature those tight ends. The Rams don't do a great job of covering them. Daniel Jones, in his career, has always struggled in pressure. For some reason, this year, he has become one of the best quarterbacks under pressure. It was his story coming out of school. It was the story of him as a New York Giant. He would struggle in it. Right now, he's thriving in it. He wins this game, he's going to be at the top of the MVP conversation. Last, Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Against the Vikings defense, if you get into obvious passing situations, you're 1-18 on third and long. Against the Vikings defense, quarterbacks are 1-18 in obvious passing situations. He's got to get rid of the ball quickly. They got to kick it to the perimeter, and they have to do a great job of treating the short pass game outside like their run game. They're not going to be able to run the ball against this defense, okay? This offensive run game is not good. If they don't have success in that, this is going to be an ugly morning, Sunday morning in Ireland.
Yeah, it's a Dublin game, and both sides of this game are interesting. Let's start with the Steelers side. One of their great legends is Terry Bradshaw. He does not see his old team as one with legitimate Super Bowl aspirations.
They're always competitive, but they're past being a contender. They're not a contender. They're just not. From what I've seen, they're not a contender. They haven't been in a while. They haven't been a contender in 5 years.
That is true. And the reason for it generally has been quarterback play. But what we have seen from them in the past, Will, is Super Bowl or at least like championship caliber defense. What are we seeing in the Steeler defense? Right now, that to me is a much bigger problem than anything they're getting out of Rodgers.
Look, $179 million on the defense. It's not a question of, if that defense will wake up. Like, they have to. Like, that is where all the money is. And then you mentioned it with the quarterback play, Aaron Rodgers. I'm not really concerned with him. It's just, what are they going to do offensively? They're like, 31st in the league, running the football. DK Metcalf has came over there, and he doesn't seem to get any separation unless he can just accelerate downfield. You throw him the ball in the end zone, or you just might get a screen because they're all screen play. They try and get Jalen Warren the football, but I just don't see what they're going to do offensively against the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, when you brought Aaron Rodgers in, the thought process was the defense will always be really good. We're going to ask you to do less than what you had to do with the New York Jets. We just need a little above average quarterback play, which you can get from Aaron Rodgers in his sleep, typically in his career. This year, with the defense playing the way that it has, to Dan's point, they're not great at running the football. And down the field, it's like when Aaron Rodgers is in the pocket, he is affected by pressure for whatever reason. And it's just not typical of what we see from him. You're going against a Brian Flores defense with those exotic pressures. It could get ugly.
To put it into context, not great at running the football. They've been outrushed 230 yards.
In 3 games.
Yeah.
200? Yeah. That's the most in the NFL. So there's a couple games this weekend that I think can get out of hand. This is one of them.
Give me the Steelers side of things, Sheffield.
Look, we're coming up with the run game, the defense, the offense, like all these holes, and how they faded and not been a player. You know what it is? They miss Ben Roethlisberger more than people realize.
Right.
When you have the franchise quarterback, it covers up all the warts, and they haven't had it. They've struggled to find the guy. They've bounced from quarterback to quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers has stepped in and played well and has been dealing at times. But the fact of the matter is they've got some holes that they've got to figure out and address. When you don't have the franchise quarterback, those things.
What you got, Danny? You got that face over there.
I get all that. The Steelers that I grew up watching would beat the absolute trash out of you at the line of scrimmage, and they just don't right now. Their offensive line, it's not what they used to be. I think their defensive line has some skill and talent, but it's not as physical as it used to be. And they got to get their stars playing like stars.
They look old and they look slow. And I'm not talking about their 41-year-old quarterback. Right now, I think he's the least
He's
of their
been
problem.
everything that they could have hoped him to be.
I want to go the other side of this. Any of you who have been, and we thank you for it, if you've been with Get Up back to our earliest days, Dan Orlovsky's belief in Carson Wentz was a huge topic on this show. And obviously there's been a lot of water under that bridge. But it was a very encouraging first performance for him. What do you expect from him against a Steeler defense that has been struggling? And what is your big picture view of Wentz now with Kevin O'Connell?
Yeah, I fully expect him to play well again. I thought the two things were timing and reaction were really good. If Carson Wentz plays well again, it absolutely is going to become a conversation in that building of does he remain their starting quarterback? The offense clicked. Now, Christian Darrisaw, their left tackle, being back, huge part of it. But if he performs again like he did last week and this offense looks the way that it should with Addison back, then him remaining their starting quarterback is at least going to be a conversation in that building.
Well, first things first. Okay, J.J. McCarthy's got the high ankle sprain. And they play in Dublin this week against the Steelers, and they play in London next week against the Browns. There is the schedule. They then have a bye week. So J.J. McCarthy wouldn't be back until October 19th against the Eagles. That would be the game that you would figure he would target. But here's the deal. The better Carson Wentz plays, the more time he buys J.J. McCarthy to recover fully from that ankle injury. And if he keeps playing well, then you're going to keep riding him at that point in time. If he's playing well, you're winning games, the ankle's not right, you just stick with him until you feel like you need to make the change.
In the NFL, the best ability is availability, right? And it's unfortunate for JJ in that scenario where Carson Wentz has a resurgence and they're saying, hey, we're going to ride the hot hand. I still think JJ McCarthy is an incredible quarterback. I think he gets better when the pressure is on, but the thing about the NFL is you can't speed up experience, even what you're seeing from Carson Wentz. If it takes him 10,000 reps to become the player he is now, and we're judging him at 5,000, or maybe you only get the 5,000, he's just not going to look that way. And that's where all these first-round picks that all of a sudden are playing at another level. Experience matters, and it's the one thing with players that you can't speed up.
The only thing I'll caveat it is anybody who really understands the roster. If they get average quarterback play, they're an NFC Championship contender. And so if Carson Wentz is giving you that plus, I just think it's gonna be hard to not justify keeping him on the field.
And they want Carson Wentz to not be Superman. They just want him to manage things, be simple, not make mistakes.
He did take 3 sacks last week where I'm like, stop doing that, dude.
Could he be the next one in these quarterback reclamation projects of guys bounce from place to place and find new life? Maybe he's the next guy to do it. Now, as you're setting your fantasy roster, let me give you AI-generated fantasy insights. They're provided by IBM. We're looking at the game breakers category, players that have a high chance of outperforming their scoring projection. We are watching Kyler Murray. He's playing tonight. We're watching George Pickens. We are with no CD Lamb for the Cowboys. So we like Pickens to potentially have a big game, and we like DJ Moore.